Hey, today I'm going to do my best Neil deGrasse Tyson impression and talk about density, entropy, and an event horizon. Now, I know these are all physical terms, but I'm not going to talk about physics. It's actually something today I learned about, and I'd like to share with you. It's basically, since I've been doing 75 hard, I learned about caloric density from Noom. Um, it's what it is it's on your diet. It's the diet part of 75 hard. You have to follow a diet. But within this diet, I chose Noom, which had several components, which of course I couldn't make it easy on myself. But within Noom, as you log your food, it rates it green, yellow, or orange. It used to be red, but it's orange, probably less triggering or something. I don't know. But they're all about cognitive behavioral therapy. So I'm sure it has something to do with red versus orange. Anyway, caloric density is the amount of calories per volume of food. And their thought is that when you eat, if you eat more green foods, which has a lower amount of calories per a larger volume of food, you're going to feel full, especially if they are nutrient dense without being calorically dense. So the reason why I'm talking about this is because it works so well. I during 75 hard, and now I'm starting phase one. I'm on day four. If you're following along, by eating green foods, and they are not saying you can't have orange and yellow foods. What they're saying is that you have to moderate yourself and actively work on eating more green foods. They give you a calorie budget, and a certain set of calories should be green, certain set of calories should be red, and certain set of calories should be yellow. And it's really good as you log your food. It'll tell you, you can actually do a analysis, and it'll break it down. And this is not a Noom commercial, by the way. Just as much as this is not a physics conversation, but the the caloric density made me think about what else could we measure like this. Caloric density gives you the the whole vision of, this is how many calories my body burns without doing anything, plus whatever workout you do. With 75 hard, it's twice a day, two 45-minute workouts. One of them has to be outdoors, and it's a challenge. It's actually made to be to promote mental toughness. So not only are you becoming more responsible for your caloric intake, but you're also measuring what foods fit into which of the categories, and you are responsibly eating. And they call it fuel eating as opposed to fog eating, or there's a few others. But fuel eating means that you're eating food to be fuel for your body so your body can do more. Ben Franklin actually had a whole bet with, I can't remember who it was, but I talked to, he actually had a vegetarian diet for a little while, and he bet this guy in Philadelphia, and the guy couldn't do it, and he became ravenous and decided to go and eat and drink and all that good stuff, and lost the bet. And the reason why that kind of plays in is that Ben Franklin had the mental toughness to live off that vegetarian diet for a long time, because he did it for a long time. He didn't have enough money to buy things, so he lived off what he called two penny loaves and whatever vegetables he could do. And by eating the two penny loaves, he filled up, and then he filled the rest of himself up with vegetables and fruits and all that good stuff. So this concept isn't new. But what it did get me doing is thinking about, where can this go in other areas of life? And I was listening to 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. I've actually read and listened to it a couple times in life. And during this phase of life, I heard something in this context, which made sense because of Noom's caloric density. And this was, he talks about information. Now, information, obtaining information and using information and your attention all cost energy. It all costs something from you, and it usually comes from energy. So the calories that you're eating turns into ATP energy, which gets consumed by something. And his premise is that your attention to the information that comes at you depletes your mind battery or your energy battery, and talks about an information fast. And he goes through the whole I think it was a 2-week energy fast or information fast, I'm sorry. And within this information fast, you're not supposed to look at the news. You're not supposed to you're actually not supposed to read nonfiction books. There's several different things. I'm not saying I agree with all this. My point is, though, with as much information that's coming at us nonstop, what are we paying attention to? What are we allowing our mental energy to be spent on to eat up the energy that's produced? So I actually looked it up, and there is a term, and it is energy entropy. So, or informational entropy. I'm sorry. So, man, I'm going to mess that up. I can't believe it, but it's all right. Just trust me. There is a phrase for it, and it has to do with entropy. And if you're not familiar with entropy, it's basically the state that if it's not growing, it's dying. And that's the dying part is entropy. There's more ways of saying it, but that's just my simplistic way of thinking about it. So the more information you take in, the more energy. What is the word? Entrophies? I can't remember what the word is. That's all right. It's. I'm not a physicist. It's okay. I probably should have looked that up before I started this, but I think you understand what I'm saying. The more entropy happens from that information, your energy dies or goes away, gets used, and your battery drains. And now you aren't just going to eat food that gets converted to this because you have a caloric budget, and you just used that potential for the day. Now, how this fits into what we've been talking about is, are you aiming towards something? Are you putting one puzzle together, or are you putting 10 puzzles together at the same time? How much more energy does it take to do something for the first time as opposed to do something for the 10,000th time? What about your tying your shoes? Let's think about that. I know that it is if you've probably heard this before, it's a saying or a good analogy of forced focus versus flowing focus. There's also what you're aware of and what you're not aware of. And if you never tied your shoes, your focus is going to be on learning the steps. And if you're learning the steps, your energy, your brain energy, your battery is going to get drained more than if you can do it, tie your shoe while you're talking and doing something else and chewing bubble gum. Same thing goes for whatever it is that you want to do. If you know where you're going, if you've figured out your vision, how do you narrow everything down like a laser so that your energy does not get depleted by other people's wills of your energy, other people's demands of your energy. This is your energy. This is what is made up of life. It is your day. It is your time. If you take care of the minutes, the years take care of themselves. Well, I would propose that if you take care of your information focus or your information input, then your vision and your goals will take care of themselves. That's where this kind of ties into where we're talking about with vision and leadership. Um, the last thing, this actually gets a little personal, so I hope you don't mind me getting a little personal here. And thanks to Matt, is why I'm adding this. I was just going to go the two ideas, caloric density and energy entropy. A lot to say, but this event horizon. If you don't know what event horizon is, I'm sure you probably do. But if you don't, let's just give me a little latitude here. If you don't know what it is the outermost part of a black hole where even light can't escape. So the event horizon shows up with this big glowing halo around a black hole because the black hole has so much dense matter in the middle of it where everything gets collapsed into the black hole and not even light, which isn't matter, it's waves, but physics, not getting into it. Why is this in this talk? Because you are not going to do what you're doing, where you're going in a straight line. It's not going to be a perfect road. As a matter of fact, you might go somewhere pretty dark before you get to go forward. Just like with weight loss, I actually gained weight because I was drinking water, I was adding muscle. I gained weight before I started losing it. I'm doing it again right now, actually. But when you figure out you're not going in the direction you thought you were, that can take you to a pretty dark place. Or let's say you haven't been going anywhere for a couple days, weeks, months, years, decades, and you come to grips with it. There's two ways you can do it. You can look at it and say, I'll never do this. I can't do this. Why even try? I haven't been able to do it in the past. Why me? Nobody, no one I know has done anything like what I'm thinking about doing. Or I don't even know exactly where I'm going. Because remember, your vision does not necessarily have to be crystal clear to start heading towards it. You just have to have a vision. And as you hone your vision, your longer term vision might get more and more clear, but at least you're aiming towards a vision. So at some point, you may get to a point where you have seen how much time you've wasted. You start negative talking yourself and say, I can never do this. Your enemy on your shoulder starts telling you everything that isn't going to happen and why even try. You might even hang up on your best friend on a Zoom call. Not because of anything he said, but because you just aren't there. But hopefully you don't pass that event horizon. Remember how bright that event horizon is around the black hole. You can still escape at that point. It's going to be harder than it is the further away you are. And hopefully you never have to get that far in. But don't let yourself pass that. Don't let yourself get past that event horizon. Now, you're not going to get crushed into a giant mass of, mass in whatever happens in a black hole, because we don't know. But I would argue that that's where you spiral down to the next lower level. And um, Jordan Peterson in that leadership vision talk he gave was said some interesting things about that cognitive behavioral therapy triangle that we talked about way back when, about the your thoughts, your behavior, or sorry, your thoughts, your actions, and your feelings. You start feeling bad, so you start thinking poorly, which makes it so that your actions go down, which makes you think badly, which makes you behave badly, and spiral down, right? Well, I would argue that this event horizon doesn't necessarily crash you into the center of a abyss, unless you're at the very last one, I guess, because people do. People go that way. It's not, it does happen in life. And thank God that I have people, and most of everyone I know has someone that can help. And I hope you do too. If you're listening to this, if you don't, and you feel like you're at that event horizon and you don't know what to do next, call crisis hotline, call 911, talk to somebody. If you have insurance, look at the insurance, and they usually have a therapist or a counselor or a coach or something that you can get in touch with. Do something, because the less time you stay near that event horizon, the more likely you are to get away from that downward spiral. And if you can catch your downward spiral and break the chain, then if you could practice that once, you can practice it twice. And the better and better you get at it, and eventually you're not looking past that. Now you're going past the last threshold, and you're growing and leaps and bounds, and there's no limit to what you can do. And guess what? Everybody has that potential. You have that potential. And if you're hearing this, I really hope you find that, and not just potential, but go do it. Go learn something, go teach it, and go do it. Thank you so much for listening. This is that wasn't a very good Neil deGrasse Tyson impression, obviously, and I wasn't trying to be physics or anything like that. It was just more about the things I've learned with caloric density, with your energy entropy, and then of course the event horizon of cognitive behavioral therapy. I guess I don't know what it would be, but I really appreciate you spending some time. Give me a comment below. Tell me about what you think of any or all of this. I'd love to hear. Be nice. Anyway, you have a fantastic day. God bless.